Hey there, and welcome to a special bonus episode of Feeling Seen. Well, not exactly a bonus episode. This is a little tease of a full-length bonus episode that awaits you if you become a Maximum Fun member. Just $5 a month gets you access to more than 500 hours of content from Maximum Fun shows, just like this one. As a member, you'll get to hear last year's conversation where I sat down with my friend Matt Kolsky and talked to him about why needy Les Nicky from My Beloved Jennifer's Body makes me feel seen. This year, producer Marissa comes out from behind the headphones and explains her lifelong affinity with Julie Andrews' Maria from The Sound of Music. If you're already a member, I cannot thank you enough. Truly, we all appreciate it so much here at Maximum Fun. And as I record this, we are just about to cross our first show goal. But every additional new, upgrading, or boosting member helps. And when I say helps, I mean helps me continue to create this show and keep making a great thing even more great. MaximumFun.org/join is the website. Check the Feeling Seen box, and voila, you've done it. Thanks again, and enjoy this taste of me and Marissa talking about Maria and the Von Trapp family's whole deal. And so then, Marissa, what is the character in the film that is under discussion today?
Okay, so obviously, as the producer of Feeling Seen, I have had lots of occasion to think about this. But I think this falls a little bit more into the, gut feeling category for me. Yeah. And I feel a little silly about it, or I should say I felt a little silly about it for a long time. And then I rewatched this movie closely, and it just made me feel a lot of ways. And I stand by my pick, which is Fräulein Maria, later Maria Von Trapp, in The Sound of Music, as played by Julie Andrews.
I go to the hills when my heart is lonely. I know I will hear what I've heard before. My heart will be blessed with the sound of music, and I'll sing once more.
Now, what was the hesitancy there?
I think The Sound of Music is a movie that, first of all, I can say that it is a movie that is very precious to me from my own childhood. Mm-hmm. It is one of a handful of movies that I watched on repeat as a little kid. I think it was one that, it was not even a let's go back to the video rental store and rent it over and over again, like some Shirley Temple movies that I enjoyed as a child. But we had this on double VHS. It was a repeat watcher for me. And I mention that because I think people think of this as a children's movie, and top level, surface level, who is Fräulein Maria is this kind of precious little optimist who is very a little sprightly and cute, and it's just doesn't have a lot of depth to her, and is walking around singing her way through the mountains. Even the first song of the movie, after The Hills Are Alive with the Sound of Music, is basically all about how Maria is a little flitty spirit that nobody can understand.
Yeah. How do you solve a problem like Maria?
How do you solve a problem like Maria? How do you catch a cloud and pin it down? How do you find a word that means Maria? A flibbity-gibbet, a will-o'-the-wisp, a clown.
And if somebody were out there singing, how do you solve a problem like Marissa, that fills my heart with fear. I would hate for that to be a thing that people are thinking.
I was going to ask, what has there been a how do you solve a problem like Marissa moment in your life that you know of? I feel like there have absolutely been. multiple how do you solve a problem like Jordan Cruciolas. Like, I'm like, yeah, oh, I can see that.
Totally. Like, you're going to understand this fully. You're going to understand this fully because something that we have in common, you and I are our own people in many ways, but what we have in common is that I think that we're both, you know, generally positive people. We care a lot about others. Like, it's all, you know, that's maybe top level. But yeah, I really want to be doing a good job at everything. I think this is also something that we share. I want to be doing a great job. I want to be thought of as, I mean, something I take up with my therapist. I strive to be like above reproach. This is something that I really go for, and that's not great, but it's true. So that's why it fills me with fear. But honestly, watching this movie again as an adult and thinking about it through this lens of, okay, I've claimed this character as, for other reasons down the line, as someone I relate to, I actually realized that, so the context where they're singing, how do you solve a problem like Maria, is at the outset of this movie, Maria is in a convent. She's trying to be she's a novice, like she's a novitiate. She's trying to be...
she's about to like progress to the novitiate stage.
And they're
she's a postulant, I think, and then she's about to progress toward novitiate.
Yes.
But and it's pretty split among the nuns.
Yeah.
Does she really have
Is she charming? Like, I don't think there's any doubt about her faith, but it's like, is she cute or is she just a mess? But what it made me think about when my first thing, I was like, oh, this is something I'm going to have to tell Jordan I don't really relate to. But then I thought about how I purposefully avoid situations that have that kind of stricture to them, whether it's in a job or in life in general, I guess. Like, the kind of like rules and regulations that Maria is being forced to live under when she's Fräulein Maria at the Abbey, I would absolutely be a Maria in that situation. I everything that Maria says in her own defense, oh, I'm sorry that I was late, but I was in the woods and I was so taken with the beauty of the sky. And it's even it's religious for her. I'm like, like, why would anybody be mad at that? And I think if I got in trouble for that, I would react like, well, screw this place.
We are on the approach in The Sound of Music to the Anschluss. We are on the approach to the German annexation of Austria in the name of unity under the Reich.
Yeah.
And Mr. Von Trapp is a Navy hero. He is like a retired naval hero of Austria. And he is not thinking kindly about the impending quote-unquote union that's just a Nazi usurpation of Austria.
Which, by the way, I won't lose track of my point here, but I do think that the movie has an interestingly nuanced and I would even almost say like realistic depiction of this moment in history. I mean, obviously I didn't live there, but it's not just, you know, Georg von Trapp has this pure ideals and he knows that the Nazis are evil. He has a commitment to his like Austrian values and doesn't want to be usurped.
To being an Austrian.
Then there's a lot of people that are getting sucked in to the status quo and like the power of what's going on with the Third Reich. And like that's what it's about. It's like not about values. It's about kind of like going with the flow. And that seems like a sort of realistic way that, you know, an evil force takes power, is that people are like, okay, you know, this is how it is
because everybody's Uncle Max for the most part.
Right. Uncle Max, who says, you know, it's best just to get along with people.
Come on, children, let's go home.
Why was he so cross?
Everybody's cross these days, darling.
Maybe the flag with the black spider on it makes people nervous. Is Father going to be in trouble?
Well, he doesn't have to be. The thing to do these days is to get along with everybody. I want you all to remember that tonight at the concert.
And that, I think, again, is another thing that the movie at its surface, you might see it as this movie that is about optimism and how optimism will get us, you know, just think happy thoughts, you know, raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens. Just think these happy thoughts and it'll get you through the hard times. La, la, la.
When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, simply remember my favorite things and then I don't feel so bad.
Does it really work?
Of course it does. You try it. What things do you like?
Puzzarilla. Christmas. Bunny rabbits. Chocolate icing.
No school.
Pillow fight. Telegram. Birthday present. Any present.
Yes.
Ladybird.
What?
A good sleep.
Achoo. Gesundheit.
But like when push comes to shove and shit gets real, it's like now's not the time to sing. Like now we need to take care of business and like not cooperate with evil. And I think I appreciate that too.
Would it help if we sang about our favorite things?
No, darling. This is one time it would not help. You must be very quiet.
Well, I think a thing that I have been looking forward to asking you is because, like, one of the most, like, notable parts about Maria, I think, is that she is actually never a pushover for Georg. She, she listens politely, but she kind of needles him and she defies him from the very start when he's, like, telling her to be a drill sergeant with his kids. And he's like, were you always this much trouble at the Abbey? And she's like, oh no, I was way worse. Like, no, it gets worse than this. And, there is a moment where she has, an exchange later on in the movie where she's like, I shouldn't have said, like, those really strong-handed things to you. Like, my outspokenness is one of my worst qualities. And that's kind of the only moment she self-deprecates away from her fortitude. But my question is, what historically is what is your current relationship with authority in regards to how Maria's relationship with authority is, which isn't necessarily, it's not necessarily, she doesn't respect authority. She really does.
Yeah.
But she is unfailingly herself, regardless of what the confines of the mandates of authority sort of tell her to be.
Actually, hearing you describe it like that, I feel even more of an affinity with the character than, maybe the initial description, because I don't know if I would self-describe as particularly like, outspoken, pushing back on authority per se.
Yeah.
But then as you went on and describe it, I feel like I have a respect for authority in theory. But in practice, It really does come down to what does the authority represent. And so for Maria, she has a great deal of respect for like the Mother Superior. So she treats her with a lot of deference. She sort of like knows her place with Captain Von Trapp, but because she's there to help him raise his children. And from the jump, she's just like, every fiber of my being tells me that what you're doing is detrimental to these children.
Yeah, you're like actually doing a bad job raising these kids.
And like not just bad for the kids, but bad for him too, right? He's not doing what he needs to thrive in this beautiful family and this beautiful life that he could potentially have. Yeah. And she sees that. She understands that like interpersonal dynamic, which I also really relate to, having a sense of that. And she just can't sit idly by. She has to say how she feels. And I think that is true. It's something my father, I'm very close with my father, and my mother passed away when I was 15. And I am happy that, unlike Captain Von Trapp, my father and I have always been able to talk about my mom. And one of the most common things that causes my dad to say, oh, you're just like your mother in X way, is that he says that I can't hide how I'm really feeling about something.
Okay.
Like if I have a strong feeling about something, it shows up on my face before I think about it, you know? And I can school my verbal reaction to something, but my face shows it first.
If I really don't like a person, like in a fundamental, like, I think you might not be good kind of way, I cannot look them in the eye because I will just be so obviously like derisive that I like, so then I just fulfill exactly what I'm trying to avoid by not even making eye contact with them. So it just becomes wildly apparent anyway that like I either don't respect or don't like this person, or that I'm just a total bitch because I'm not going to make eye contact with somebody. So yeah, that's a toughie.
Yeah. I just think of friends saying like something funny or weird or bad or whatever happens, and friends like pointing to me saying, Marissa, your face, like whatever automatic face that I made to something, never mind what I, in a split second, I've like schooled myself back to, and that's a Maria thing too, right? She's got her moment. But to tie it back to the question about authority, I think that, if it's something that goes against my values and it's something that is a part of my responsibility, especially professionally, which is true for Maria, my gosh, like I would not sit there and nod. I would have to say how I felt. And I think I'm fortunate that I haven't gotten in a lot of trouble for it. I wouldn't say to someone, oh yes, it's my outspokenness that got me in trouble. But you know what? If I grew up in 1930s Germany or Austria, I think that might have been a different story if I were me in a different context than than the life and time and people among which I was raised.
I would say it's cost me a couple jobs at this point.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned. Audience supported.